of 16 independent and self-governing states. Members include Australia, Cook Islands, Federated States of Micronesia, Fiji, Kiribati, Nauru, New Zealand, Niue, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Republic of Marshall Islands, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. The annual meetings of forum leaders are chaired by the head of government of the host country, currently the Cook Islands, who remains as forum chair until the next meeting. The Pacific Islands Forum was founded in 1971 as the South Pacific Forum. In 2000, the name was changed to the Pacific Islands Forum to better reflect the geographic location of its members in the North and South Pacific. Founding members of the Pacific Islands Forum were Australia, Cook Islands, Fiji, Nauru, New Zealand, Tonga, and Western Samoa, which is now Samoa. The Secretariat to the Forum was initially established as a trade bureau in 1972 and later became the South Pacific Bureau for Economic Cooperation, or SPEC. In 2000, when the name of the Forum changed, the Secretariat became the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. The Secretariat's mandate is delivered through the annual Leaders' Communiques and high-level ministerial meeting decisions. It is also mandated to coordinate the implementation of the Pacific Plan for strengthening regional cooperation and integration, all according to the leaders' vision. Leaders believe the Pacific region can, should, and will be a region of peace, harmony, security, and economic prosperity, so that all of its people can lead free and worthwhile lives. We treasure the diversity of the Pacific and seek a future in which its cultures, traditions, and religious beliefs are valued, honored, and developed. We seek a Pacific region that is respected for the quality of its governance, the sustainable management of its resources, the full observance of democratic values, and for its defense and promotion of human rights. We seek partnerships with our neighbors and beyond to develop our knowledge, to improve our communications, and to ensure a sustainable economic existence for all. To mark the occasion of its 40th anniversary in 2011, the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat embarked on a program of activities to celebrate the region's progress and to reflect on the future of the region and the many challenges it faces moving forward. Celebratory activities included a series of public lectures delivered by eminent Pacific leaders on the journey of the Pacific Islands Forum, from its inception to the present and their particular country's vision for the future. On 18th October 2012, the annual Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Lecture was delivered by the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands and Forum Chair, the Honorable Henry Puna. With a focus on the Pacific Plan, Honorable Puna delivered his vision around the theme, "A New Optimism, a More Dynamic Pacific Plan." In their most recent gathering, leaders commented on challenges the Pacific Islands Forum has faced and spoke to the Pacific Plan's role as a driver for regionalism, recognizing the collective strength of the region to meet past, present, and future challenges.
Pacific regionalism speaks to the heart of our duty as leaders, for it is incumbent upon us to foster the ties and linkages between our nations and to fashion these relations into productive frameworks of cooperation. The focus on the Pacific Plan as the centerpiece of this public address tonight is important to the work we have accomplished and the results that we want to achieve in future years.
The Honorable Henry Puna's lecture highlighted key issues.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Chair of the Forum to deliver his keynote address. Thank you.
Certainly, questions of value and effectiveness have their roots in the minds of our founding fathers when they met in Wellington in 1971. I believe our leaders demonstrated considerable foresight in engaging as equal partners, understanding common problems and shortcomings, and placing the interests of Pacific peoples in the forefront of establishing a new organizational identity. The leaders of Vanuatu, Samoa, and New Zealand, for example, have previously referred to the roots of Pacific regionalism, described the challenges associated with the ebb and flow of external pressures upon our self-determination efforts and responsibilities, and posed relevant questions for debate and discussion about how the Pacific Plan may be better attuned with the wishes and aspirations of our Pacific peoples. To those leaders, I pay tribute for their commitment to our region and its diverse cultures and peoples. This year, I'd like to take up a point made by the Prime Minister of New Zealand last year when he discussed the inaugural gathering of 7 nations in Wellington more than 40 years ago, when a sense of common purpose was taking hold with the anticipation of great developments to come. And perhaps a newly emerging era of optimism among this group of nations willing to take on the challenges before them then. This positive feeling generated among a small group of Pacific nations was a keenness to embrace a new way, a new concept of consulting and working very closely together to achieve common benefits. A new sense of optimism was clearly on the table, even in the face of economic challenges and political sensitivities at the time, such as trade blocs, decolonization, and nuclear testing in the Pacific. Over the course of more than 40 years, the central question, which would no doubt provoke a range of responses, revolves around whether the Pacific brand of regionalism has any value at all. It is understandable that in time, those early challenges would become subject to considerable pressures. Pressures brought about not just by the overwhelming nature of global trends, but the confluence of national interests with regional sensitivities of cooperation in some new fields. While we want to pursue our national level interests at all times, regional cooperation does introduce scope for compromise and ongoing revisitation. Former United States President and global philanthropist Bill Clinton recently articulated that many of today's biggest challenges are the, quote, modern manifestations of our oldest demons, close quote. That challenge to break the mold of our old mindsets is inspiring and also appealing to so many people across different walks of life, even here in the Pacific. In our region, I believe we have already begun to witness the signs of an era of new optimism, an era based on the realization of gains and an improved understanding of the way we need to do business, not just to survive, but to also prosper, to lead free and worthwhile lives. Although I make mention of the beginnings of a new time ahead, it would be remiss of me to omit the progress and the successes of our Pacific regionalism in past years. These success stories, and there have been many, are both uplifting and inspiring. The Pacific Regional Assistance to Nauru, PRAN, Regional Assistance Mission to the Solomon Islands, RAMSI, these are among those standouts of forum commitments and achievement in cooperation. Governance strengthening, security, gender and human rights, conflict management and prevention are key parts of our engagement within and beyond our region. Economically, the forum stands strong, together, on policy and trade frameworks such as PICTA and the advancement of services, investment, and private sector expansion. Interagency cooperation among the crop group is strengthening. The Forum Compact, aid effectiveness, and donor-partner dialogue successes now involve fresh engagement with the United States and newly developing high-level contact with the United Nations leadership and the UN's broad system of global programs. The Pacific Islands Forum, as it stands today, more than 40 years on, has a suite of formal mechanisms of action, all strengthened and given meaning by our willingness to work together. The Pacific Plan, a blueprint of our priorities, guides and adds value to the cooperative approach adopted by our 16 nations. We must build on progress and allow these gains to become part of who we are and what we have. The positive success stories are ours to promote and share with each other and with the rest of the world. Moreover, this new sense of optimism has to be driven by rising above the constraints, the difficulties we've confronted, and harnessing it to energize the Pacific Plan. Today's framework of cooperation to pursue advantages is our doing under the Pacific Plan's regard for our ocean, but the ideals are clearly designed for the benefit of those to come. The sound management of our ocean's resources is also the driving force for our ongoing priority to investigate seabed mining in the Cook Islands, a new frontier that must blend caution with optimism while mapping a way forward. While the Cook Islands is somewhat of an old hand at talking about seabed minerals, it still remains true that deep-sea mining is a new territory yet to explore. Optimism generated by the possibility of riches at the bottom of the sea must therefore be tempered with the reality of global trends and technological advancements as much as our capability in sustainable management. Where the Pacific can claim an increasingly more positive outlook is the promise of new levels of cooperation in sharing experiences and information. With our nations integrated in close consultation, we can build a seabed mining knowledge base by drawing on the invaluable help of partnerships with entities such as the SOPEC division of the Secretariat of the Pacific Community. The Cook Islands is a willing player in this regard and is prepared to advance the pace on sharing our information on what will become a crucial industry in the future. A quickening of pace has already characterized our cooperative, integrated approach to regional fisheries, the traditional centerpiece of the Pacific's oceanscape. The fisheries resources, crucial to our livelihoods and sustained economic strengthening, has commanded the majority share of priority attention in policy and planning, as well as direct negotiations within and outside of our region. It's fair to say that our stewardship of the ocean is dominated by a sector that cuts across all four pillars of the Pacific Plan. Fisheries is inextricably tied to considerations of economic growth, sustainable development, good governance, and security. In a series of firsts at this year's Forum Leaders meeting in Rarotonga, our fisheries management was given added security with the simultaneous signing of 8 maritime boundary treaties, an accomplishment unequaled anywhere in the world. This modest ceremony was a significant card of achievement for the region, harnessing multi-agency cooperation led by the Forum Fisheries Agency and the Secretariat of the Pacific Community, bringing together several countries in a multi-layered joint effort for fisheries governance and strengthening the Pacific's resource management priorities for the future. The purposeful dedication to preserve and manage our fisheries is a firm indicator of the potential of Pacific regionalism to rise above the constraints and stay optimistic about our future. Our brand of regionalism also demonstrated a heightened awareness of each other's peculiar challenges and advantages during the forum in Rarotonga. At the outset of the forum proper, for example, the fledgling Polynesian Leaders Group, which embraces 5 full members of the forum, led a discussion on energy and the progress of adopting and utilizing alternative sources to fuel our future development. Samoa and the Kingdom of Tonga are among the leading nations in the Pacific in this regard, securing higher levels of integration by boosting the share of renewable energy generation and applying working models for the region to investigate and perhaps to adapt to their own power environments. The Polynesian leaders resolved to launch a new effort of sharing the knowledge on energy developments, particularly given the varying speed levels of advancement among the forum member countries. We'd like to bring up the pace by learning as much as we can feasibly achieve, and in the process, share the interest of how renewable energy can transform our power systems and thus our respective national economies. Enhancing the region with clean, green energy systems is a goal we can achieve and promote more broadly. Individually, Pacific nations have taken bold steps. Yes, our renewable energy targets are ambitious, and no, our pockets are not deep. But by recognizing the extent to which we can close the gaps in the renewable energy knowledge base, a broader concerted approach to exchanging information and study data will capitalize on the real achievements thus far, lift the momentum for change, and inject an added level of optimism about the future security of our energy needs. Individual gains can translate into joint benefits under a fresh approach, and demonstrating that to the outside world can, in my view, attract the investment that we need to implement our renewable energy targets. I believe our progressive steps in oceans management and alternative energy development help generate a renewed sense of optimism that will propel us well into the next 40 years. Thinking about the Forum's founding leaders and their own outlook back in 1971, I am reminded of the way my elders in Aitutaki were concerned about the future of their livelihoods back then. At that time, well before the doors opened to tourism, grassroots concerns over the future sustainability of our valuable banana exports helped shape the Prime Minister's thinking and approach to Pacific regionalism and the burgeoning Pacific way of taking on challenges and talking them through with each other with a common purpose. Today, linkages between the grassroots reality and regional objectives need to be clearly articulated and appreciated. Alignments must lead to improved levels of integration in the way we approach the setting of priorities.
At their meeting in 2012, Forum leaders endorsed the comprehensive review of the Pacific Plan in 2013.
For our Pacific Plan to be dynamic, it should provide us the guidance with which to tackle our problems. It should remain relevant to the changing nature of the region and the influences and challenges it faces now and into the future. And as much as possible, the will and support of leaders can and should strengthen ownership of the Pacific Plan. The forthcoming review ought to strengthen our capability of responding to the demands placed upon it. After all, we need a dependable way of keeping our finger on the pulse of this living framework so that it remains responsive to our needs and keeps that sense of optimism alive at all times. I believe the strengthening of our own resolve to do better under our Pacific Plan, to attain new heights of prosperity, to sustain peace in our region, we will always be blessed by the presence of the guiding hand of God. On that note, I wish the Pacific all the best for the future. Thank you.